We have known for the last 2 years that Snow Woke was going to broke Disney. But is it really Rachel Zegler's fault? I want to get into that. We've got a left-loon judge that apparently now is going to declare contempt on the Supreme Court. He's going to find out who in that Trump administration didn't turn those planes around last month when he gave the order. Did he miss the fact that SCOTUS weighed in on this and that the Trump administration had every right to do what they did? This ought to get interesting. Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York, who went after Donald Trump over inflating the prices of his real estate to get better deals. And by the way, paid everything back. Banks made money. Everybody made money. Nobody was defrauded. There was no crime there. Yet, they got him on 34 counts of felonies. And now, apparently, she's the one with her own properties and investments was lying and manipulating and over-evaluating her properties, and while serving as a New York Attorney General, was listing Virginia as her place of residence. Bump, ba-dum, bump. Man, doesn't karma suck? We got other things going on the left who have just completely lost their minds. I'm going to cover it all here on the Afternoon Drive.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody on top of the line!
Well, thank you so much for watching. Let me just say right at the outset, this will be a quick video in the sense I don't have time to edit material into it. I became a grandfather today. I know. You look at me and you think, you're way too young for that. I agree. But nonetheless, my youngest daughter has given birth about an hour ago at the recording of this, and so I'm on my way to the hospital, but I needed to get this done. Hey, please like and share this video. It's the only way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching, being a part of the Afternoon Drive. Snow Woke is getting absolutely destroyed at the box office. There are movie theaters which have already pulled it. The signs are coming down. The banners are coming down. We've known for 2 years this was going to happen. And I know they keep playing the same sound bites over and over. We know that Rachel Zegler has just said some things that, she talked about how the original movie was 1937 and painfully out of date, and the prince was a stalker. Weird, weird, weird. She's not going to be waiting for true love. She is going to, become the leader that she was meant to be, etc., 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 ad nauseum, etc. That's not the reason the movie tanked. I'm going to get overly simplistic on this, but I think in the end you'll agree, hey, he's right. Here's why the movie tanked. They made it. Okay, I'll say it again. They made it. Rachel Zegler didn't write the script. Rachel Zegler wasn't the director. Rachel Zegler didn't sit in meetings with the intelligentsia of Disney World, who we have talked about ad nauseum on here, and we have provided you the video footage of this, 4, 5, 6 years ago, of Disney executives on Zoom calls talking about the need to become more inclusive and diversity and to start changing the Disney brand to be all in and all inclusive and to start introducing gay characters and non-binary characters, etc., etc., etc. This has been the plan. To take Disney classics and change them. And they hired an actress who could sing apparently, and they thought could act. And of course, again, we've got to break the whole stigma of ethnic identity. Rachel Zegler saying Spanish-speaking people love this story. Well, I'm sure they do. But I would be remiss to say how bent out of shape the Spanish world would be if the next Zorro movie had a flaming white albino actor in the lead role. Yeah? It's funny that cultural misappropriation works for everybody else but us, apparently. And again, Snow White, the actual story, is a Nordic story. Her name's Snow White because she was as white as the snow. I mean, this took place during Nordic medieval times. They didn't have, I'm sorry, people of color dressed in white dancing in the town square. That didn't happen. But I don't know why anybody's shocked by that. Disney has been doing this. I remember watching the live action version. Nobody talks about this. It was streaming on the Disney platform like 2-3 years ago. They did the live action version of Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp takes place the turn of the 20th century, from the 19th century into the 20th century. That non-disclosed small town America that Walt Disney was absolutely in love with. He loved that Midwestern town. I will note, though, that Main Street USA has never had the depiction of a church on it in Disney World or Disneyland, because Walt Disney was not what we would call a classic Christian in that sense. So, Christians that get bent out of shape with all the newness going on at Disney, well, Walt Disney was never really, a strong, outspoken advocate of Christianity, but he was an outspoken candidate of American patriotism and traditionalism. So at the turn of the 20th century, in the live-action version of Lady and the Tramp, Lady's parents, or the couple that own her, are mixed race. Had a black mayor. A lot of black-owned businesses, a lot of white-owned businesses. And I remember at the time doing a podcast on this and saying, this actually sets race relations back. Now you can see it as being, it's diverse, it's equity, it's inclusive. No. It diminishes what Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement went through. It diminishes what Medgar Evers stood for. Because if you keep revising these stories this way, you're going to have a generation, we already know we're borderline on a generation that doesn't think well now. Well, they're going to look at that and think, well, yeah, back at the turn of the 20th century, mixed race couples could get married. No, they couldn't. So this is racism in reverse. It's not inclusive. It doesn't help. It only pushes race relations back. And this is why you got young black people today that don't think things have improved. They've gotten worse, because after all, at the turn of the 20th century, according to the Lady and the Tramp movie, we were already becoming equal, and then something happened in the 1930s and you stopped it. No, that's not what happened. The movie Snow Woke was written that way, and they hired her on purpose because they knew she was going to give interviews and talk about being a lady boss and wanting girls to, not just sit around and wait for some man to come rescue them. That was all part of it. What they weren't counting on was the backlash. And when the backlash happened, then they simply made Rachel Zegler the scapegoat. There, I said it. Now, it doesn't help that, after the election, she, hoped that Trump and all of his supporters, like half the country, never know peace. Oh, gee, that's a great way to say, hey, come see my movie. Come see my movie. She wants to free Palestine while her co-star, Gal Gadot, or whatever her name is, Wonder Woman, actually served in the Israeli army. So this thing has been cooked. Roger Iger, or Roger Liar, the head of Disney, he has tanked the entire Disney brand. Look what they did to Star Wars. Look what they've done to the Marvel Universe. Look what they did to Indiana Jones. Is anybody really shocked by this? But again, I know it's easy to go after Rachel Zegler and the things that she says, but at the end of the day, she didn't write the movie. They picked her on purpose, and then when it blew up, they went after her. Look, I'm not losing any sleep over it. I'm not going to watch any Rachel Zegler movies, just like I didn't go see the new Robert De Niro movie. And I love gangster movies, and I love the spin as, people are done with mob movies. No, they're not. They're done with Robert De Niro. You shoved your politics down our throat, and we said, fine, we're not buying any tickets. And Bobby, you might want to consider when you go after Trump and Trump supporters, that was literally like 90% of your audience. Libloons and people that are worried more about justice for illegals don't go see gangster movies. Let's talk about justice for illegals. This Maryland father's got to be returned. This Maryland father's got to be returned. He wasn't a Maryland father. He's not a citizen of our country. He is a citizen of El Salvador. He was here illegally. He committed no crimes. As soon as he came in here illegally, he had committed a crime. He has to be kept here because he's under death threats. Because he's an MS-13. That's been proven. Not once, twice. He did receive his due process. But see, to liberals, due process means a due process that never ends. They would appeal this for the next 25 years. Trump said, you're gone. El Salvador says, we'll take him. And then El Salvador, the president, tells the reporterette from CNN, no, you can't have him back. CNN was left stunned, and you got Dana Bash saying, we do love America. Really? You love America when, after Donald Trump was elected the first time, that you rammed down our throats ad nauseum the entire fake, phony Russian collusion, 2 impeachment attempts against Donald Trump, the lawfare against Donald Trump, and then you tried to tell us that Joe Biden was completely mentally cognitive. You love America so much, you go on the air every night and lie. Screw you, CNN. You are American haters. You think that America is stupid and needs to be spoon-fed your propaganda. Well, guess what? They ain't buying it no more, and that's why nobody watches you. You've got judges now saying, I ordered that plane to come back, and Trump let it go anyway. I'm going to hold somebody in contempt. You're going to hold the Supreme Court in contempt? Because the Supreme Court ruled on this very case and said that Donald Trump, under the Enemies Alien Act, he can do this. He can bounce them. That's a really old law. Constitution's a really old document. So now you're going to tell the Supreme Court, I know more than you. These little district judges, all we ever heard from Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden and Camilla thinks she's a hottie Harris, is that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. He's just a dictator, a fascist, a dictator. What are these little judges? These little judges from some little pissant court in Maryland or even D.C. or New York City or Los Angeles, they think they can tell the president of the United States what his foreign policy, what his war policy is going to be. They don't have the authority, the jurisdiction, or the Constitution on their side on that at all. Marco Rubio made that abundantly clear in the Oval Office meeting the other day with the president of El Salvador, and to CNN. Judges cannot usurp the commander-in-chief on foreign policy. Period. This is what they got. Woke white, and you've got Democrats, and you've got judges out there now fighting to keep gang members who rape and kill and dismember children in the country. And they need due process. You don't get due process. Some grandmother wearing a Trump hat and carrying an American flag, if she walked in front of the Capitol on January the 6th, they want her thrown in prison forever. January 6th. What a farce. It was an insurrection. Really? Bunch of Second Amendment gun nuts showed up to take over the government. And what did they forget that day? Oh yeah, their guns. Democracy was not in any danger on January 6th. Unbelievable. These people have no shame. And now apparently a new poll says that Democrats want the party to go even harder left. They want them to follow the lead of AOC. Let me close this video out by quoting Senator Kennedy. AOC is the reason they had to put directions on a shampoo bottle. Is this really the lead you want to be following?